Hey, just before we get started, this is a conspiracy, paranormal, and true crime podcast.
The nature of this podcast is gory, unsettling, and definitely vulgar.
And we curse a lot.
Like, a lot.
So be advised.
We're just two idiots with a mic.
Yo, and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylar.
And I'm Morgan. And this is episode, I don't even know, what is
103.
it? 103.
Yeah.
So
103.
the triple ditch. Wait till we get to the 4 ditch. Just kidding, those words didn't come out of my mouth.
Dude, that would literally be, we'd be 90.
Yeah, we would.
Would we be 90?
We would be like
It's a
30.
week. It's every single week. We've done it every single week.
52 weeks a year.
Morgan, for 103 weeks, we have sat on these mics and given them episodes.
That's nuts.
At least we've seen each other every single week for an entire however many weeks.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Besties. Guys, guess who is in retrograde?
Mercury.
You little sly little devil, little Mercury.
Fucking bitch.
Little fucking bitch.
Yeah,
literally.
really.
Anyway, so
that was so dramatic of us. Literally. I'm done.
We hate Mercury.
Just
kidding. This time around, we're doing something different. We're going to embrace Mercury being in retrograde.
We are.
And it's going to bring us gifts and love and success and happiness. And
we are in lucky girl syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
We hope so. And also, on that note, we just had our Noodle Girls wedding this weekend.
Oh my God. I'm literally like, what are we missing? Oh, the fact that we literally were in Memphis, A. B, we went and celebrated our bestie's wedding day.
A gorgeous wedding.
And if you guys don't know who Noodle is, first off, if you listen from the beginning, you know who Noodle is. But if you're new here, Noodle is Madison, but she was our third roommate in college. She
was the cherry on top of our ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
3 peas in a pod.
So she got married at Ansdale Mansion in Memphis. Oh my God.
Stunning, gorgeous,
haunted
love.
For sure.
Haunted.
Stunning.
The Airbnb we stayed in, haunted. But
we
gorgeous.
We were literally like, should we bring our mics? Guys, it was so gorgeous. And Patreon, we have you a vlog coming, but it's gonna take me a few days because we are literally 2 weeks and 3 days from season 3. And there's a lot to be done.
And of course, Mercury's flipping in reverse it.
Mercury said, season 3, Creeps and Crimes. Oh, let me just throw this bitch in reverse.
And then throw it on cruise. And let's ride it backwards, baby. No, just kidding. We're embracing it. This year is different.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we move on, congratulations to Madison Payne. We love you guys so much.
Oh, yes, we love you guys so much. We had the best time.
XOXOXO.
So we got a DM, and we get a few DMs from our OGs, and they, say hey, it's my friend's birthday. And I know I've promised for a fucking cameo for so long. I swear to God, it's going to happen in season 3. I'm not joking. It's on the calendar of the list of things that I need to do. Anyways, we get some DMs like this, and we can't do everybody's, obviously, even though we would literally love to. And we used to be able to do a lot easier whenever it was back in the day, and there was 10 of you. But
we pre-record a lot, so if you catch us on a good week or a bad week where we haven't pre-recorded, then
it's really
you're in luck.
You're in luck because
it's a good week for you.
We want to share the love with our listeners and your friends too, because your friends are so fucking sweet.
Yeah, they are.
So we got a DM from Hattie, and she let us know that it is Holly's birthday. And Holly, I know you know who you are. We talk a few times every now and again, and
gorgeous, stunning girl.
Stunning, literally stunning. And we just want to let you know that we love you and happy motherfucking birthday.
Happy birthday, Holly.
Yes, happy birthday, Holly. And also we wanted to just send you some love and light and a lot of good things because we know that you've been going through some things, some stuff that you've told us. So we want to tell you that we absolutely fucking love you, and
you got a good friend.
You've got an amazing friend. It takes a village.
Yeah.
And your time is coming. Lucky girl syndrome, this shit up.
We're riding Mercury together, babe.
Yeah, we're going through it. It's all good.
Happy birthday. We love you. Hugs and kisses.
We love you, and everything's gonna be all good, baby.
Hearts.
Oh my God. Speaking of everything being okay, have you seen the new Black Panther trailer, Wakanda Forever?
Of course I have.
What's it? Is it Wakanda Forever?
Yes.
Is that what's the name? The way. First off, the shots impeccable.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing.
I think it might
the
be my
music
favorite.
in the background.
Dope.
First off, Bob Marley, Kendrick Lamar, sign me up. I have chills on my body. I wish you guys could see the amount of chills.
Yeah, it was a dope fucking trailer.
Did I make you watch it?
Why did our camera just say that?
I don't know. Our camera.
No, Aaron and I watched it on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When we tuned into Hulk last week.
Oh, I showed it to Nikki. That's who it was. Oh yeah, you've been watching She-Hulk?
Yeah,
me too. It's pretty good.
It's okay.
I really like it.
I don't like how short the episodes are.
No, me
because I'm like
either.
so used to Marvel like giving.
Yeah,
and like Marvel's just like 30
Have you done Daredevil yet?
So I was like, Aaron, I would like to watch Daredevil. Taylor said it's really good. If Taylor likes it, I'll really like it.
He's
like,
it.
okay, yeah, let's watch it. So I start 1-2 episodes, right? And then this was right at the beginning of the week that I worked my 7 or 8 days in a row.
Fuck that.
And I came home every day, and somehow Disney Plus magically went from episode 2 to episode 8, from episode 8 to season 2. And
oh my God, you're already on season 2. He's already on
all
season 2.
All of a sudden, it's over. And I saw maybe 3 episodes of it. And I was like, I wanted to watch that show. That was I told you about that.
Oh my God, no, because, dude.
That's just rude.
They're the longest fucking episodes ever.
Yeah, he binged.
I don't know how. I've been watching it for like a year, and I'm literally only on season 2.
Yeah, but I got a good gist of it. Like, I watch episodes here and there. I'd like to watch the whole entire thing, obviously.
Yeah. You do need to, like, even if you just turn it on the back, it's not one that you have to, like, pay attention to every single detail, because there's just, like, a lot of just, like, random cringy
But it was
shit.
pretty freaking good.
Oh my God, wait, isn't your favorite Princess Ariel?
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer?
I know, it's
oh my
beautiful,
God, I
gorgeous.
sogged my fucking eyes out. And I was seeing these
and
clips
all the reacting videos.
Yes, the reacting videos.
I know.
Oh my God, where they were like, oh my God, she looks like me.
I know.
My God. Am I okay?
I know.
No, because I sobbed my eyes out this morning in the bed.
How amazing of Disney.
Oh my God,
Really,
Nikki was watching it earlier too, and was literally. I mean, and people are like, oh, people are getting pissed about it.
People are getting pissed. They're like, she doesn't have red hair. Like, Ariel's iconic for red hair, and I guess I get it in a way of like an image of like growing. Like,
right.
Ariel has been around for so long,
right?
And no, actually, I don't get it.
I get the red hair because that is a staple of who Ariel is. But who's to say we only saw one fucking clip,
right?
And the sun,
and
it's dark, and then
that
it's
are
the
like, it's based out of Norwegian.
What's
the country called?
Norway.
Oh
my God! Someone arrest us.
That needs cut out of this episode. Norwegia
Ouija
board. Is
that where Ouija boards originated?
Norwegia. So anyway, it's based out of Norwegia board, and people are like, it's prominently white. So like, why? Like, it's just so fucked up. I don't know why everything has to be a big mother effing fight.
Like, y'all, fucking
like,
Snow White's talking to animals. Where are we gonna put her in a fucking mental institution?
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, let's litericize every single movie, and you would not create the movies that Disney creates.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you would not get that Disney magic that Disney provides.
Right. And
if they were like, oh, this is in Norway, we have to do it like it's in Norway.
Right.
Like, no, there's no freaking mermaids in Norway. Well, actually,
first off, there's no mermaids.
I'm here to tell you there probably is.
There's sirens.
Yeah.
Aren't sirens and mermaids like
different?
The same but different?
Same but different.
Right. They're like Satan. Oh my God. Did you fucking watch the video I sent to you today on TikTok? And I was like,
was it through my DMs on TikTok?
No, it was in our messages, and it was right before I asked you about the second recording tonight.
Well, you sent me like 3 videos at once while I was at work, so I don't know what I watched.
So,
I only watched the one about Earth.
Okay. Well, that one was from one of our listeners, actually, and I literally responded to them, and I was like, why do you have me tripping dicks at noon?
Yeah.
Like, why? So I sent you one earlier this morning. It was like at 9, like when I first woke up, because it was the first thing on my For You page.
Oh! Fallen angels, death angels. I saw that. I did see that.
Death angels.
I meant to respond. Yeah, that's me.
Morgan literally saw a death angel. I don't know if we talked about it on here.
Yeah, she was like, keep your eyes open. Like, they're everywhere right now.
Yeah, you literally saw one.
And I saw one.
And when you told Susan about it, Susan's like, oh, it's a death angel. It wasn't yours, but it was a death angel. Angel. I'm immediately done.
And I freaking saw it.
Yeah, you did. You saw a fucking death angel.
Probably what, 4 weeks ago now? 3 weeks ago?
It was right before we got our past life regressions.
Yeah.
Like the week before. So wait, did we tell them? No, you waited to tell me about the nightmare.
Did we even tell you guys that?
No, I don't think you literally
Anyway,
did.
I saw a death angel, but
it was so
while
scary.
we're on the topic of TikTok, let's play just a little game. I know we're like kind of like throwing it back. You know the trend that's like, the color my boyfriend thinks I am. And like whatever.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it real quick.
What are the categories though?
It's color, season, elements.
What we think we are, or should we do what we think?
I want to do what we think each other are.
Okay.
Elements, fruit.
Should we pull it up?
No, we don't need to
We'll just go in order.
Okay.
We'll do 5.
Color.
Okay, you go first.
I would say you're like a beige.
You're the color of your engagement dress. Green and browns.
Yeah.
That's your vibe. Element. What the fuck is an element? Oh, like the element.
You're earth.
Oh, okay.
Actually, you could be like windy. Wind in the hair.
Windy?
Is that an element?
Are you sure that I'm earth?
You're earth.
That's like very solid and like.
No, I don't see it like that. Like I see how you appreciate like nature's beauty.
Oh, okay.
Like that's what I see it as.
So,
and if you say water, I'll literally drown
well,
myself.
I was about to say, typically I would say water, but I think if I can't use water because I know how you feel about water, air.
Fire, bitch.
Air. Just like movement. You're not even fire because you can just like move so easily.
Fluidity.
Fluidity. Exactly. So it has the same elements of water.
Okay, what was the next one? Fruit.
Ah, God.
I would say you're like a... Like I want to say watermelon, but it's not right.
I know. I want to say watermelon for you, but it's just because it's our favorite.
And like your outfit you're wearing right now, like I want to say blueberry because you look like
I fucking hate blueberries.
You look like the girl from Willy Wonka.
I literally just said, fuck you, Violet. No,
not Violet.
Violet. That's the one that blows
up.
No,
the game girl.
That was nice. I just said I hate blueberries and I need to correct myself. I don't hate blueberries.
Snapshot right now, the girl from Willy Wonka on the.
I'm not. I don't have the time to edit that in.
Well,
just everybody know that it's there
for TikTok.
Okay. Let me think.
Funny.
What do I think of your fruit?
No, you're plum.
Oh my God, you scared.
You're plum.
That could be so bad.
But wait, we should say like how the TikTok sound is. It's like plum, and then it's like blueberries.
And it's like,
I would say,
I don't know what I think fruit you are. I think, hold on, give me a second. I want to say like a star fruit, but those just taste like dick. Like they're not good.
Yeah.
But they are good.
A
kiwi. That's exactly what it is.
Kiwi.
Look, in the green and the brown again.
Little kiwi.
Yeah, this is a little
okay,
bit. And I'm a plum.
What's the next one? What time of day are you?
I think that you are like twilight dusk.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And you are rise and shine. Okay.
I'm a sunrise.
And season-wise?
I don't want to say winter because your skin acts up.
Yeah, I'm not a winter.
It gets really dry. But I also don't, I want to say fall because I know that it's a good vibe, but you get seasonal depression in fall.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I do want to say spring, but then things bloom and you're allergic.
But not summer because I sweat.
But not summer because you sweat. So
it's spring.
Yeah, it would have to be like the very beginning of spring.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like right when everything blooms, when it's not attacking you yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you.
See, I would give you fall, but based off of your previous last couple years, I would have to take it away.
Yeah. Why?
Because it's just like not your season anymore.
Not my season.
Like
I wonder why.
You don't really flourish anymore.
I don't really flourish in it anymore. It used to
really
be my
get dick
vibe.
down in that season.
Fall literally motherfucks me. So
fall literally takes you down to the ground.
It does. It truly
buries
does.
you like a freaking apple tree.
I don't even know what my season would be.
Well, like you're always like, I love winter time.
I love it, but I hate it because I'm dark. I'm a dark-haired girl, and I'm pale as shit in the winter.
Okay, well, I would say winter whenever we lived at Suntan City.
Oh my God, yeah. Back when we were, getting skin cancer every single time.
But like, you love your big like Lux coats.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I love
like
a winter outfit.
Yeah,
a winter. So like a fall and a winter outfit are for me. But I love summer.
I know you do
because it's beautiful. But I'm just miserable and hot the entire time.
Me too.
So, I mean, we just don't vibe in seasons, apparently. We vibe in a very specific part of a season.
Yeah.
Like,
wait, how's the song go? Winter.
Yeah.
Winter. Okay. Is there any others?
Is it a car? It's a car. What kind of car are you? I have like two I could choose from for you.
Okay. Well, I'm putting you in a Porsche.
Oh my God, not a Porsche.
Well, I would put you in a G-Wagon, but you like basically already have one because it looks like one.
I know. But I hate the Porsche's fucking headlights. They
drive
Porsche. That's how
you say it.
That's how like you're supposed to say it, but nobody.
Sounds like my grandmother saying
Porsche.
Hey
Porsche.
Hey, Portia.
Okay, my car for you. So, look, here's my thing. When I see you in a luxury car, I see you in a Maserati now because we talk about it so much. But, like, in reality...
You see me in a Suburban of some sort.
I see you in a big, like fucking mow your ass over car.
Yeah.
Yet, I've literally only ever seen you drive a small car. So, I don't know why. To me, you... Like, when I first met you, I was convinced that you drove, like, a big fucking car. Yeah. Like I see you in like an OG but tricked out with like new features on it Defender, even though that is my car. I will allow you to see it.
Even though
Defender.
I want that car Defender.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
me,
we're
Porsche.
Portia. Oh, Crystal.
Oh, Crystal.
And then we're done.
One.
We'll wrap it up. I already know what you're going to pick for me.
What do you think?
An emerald.
Yeah, but I also have another one. But I don't know if it's because of Creeps and Crimes. I was going to do like a purple quartz.
Mm-hmm. Like an amethyst kind of ordeal?
Amethyst, yeah. I don't know why I said purple quartz.
Like I could see like in a sapphire, like ruby. Like
yeah.
Like a really like rich, that's blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A really rich blue, like gorgeous, like blue, like crystal, like jewelry.
I'm wearing blue, Morgan.
I know. Okay, we're done. Next time wear neutral color, bitch. All right. If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
You got a glass, put that shit up.
And let's get creepy. That was an awful creepy. Okay, I need to give an update on the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. It is Violet, and it was not the video game girl. That's literally the crazy boy. It was the gum girl, the athlete.
Yeah.
The chomper.
From Georgia.
Georgia.
From Georgia. Even though they literally didn't have a Georgia accent. They like, okay, what really bothers me is when people in movies like cast people to play Southern people. And look, I'm not like a Southern advocate in any way, shape, or form. But as someone
you did Georgia wrong.
It's just like there's different dialects for every state of a Southern accent. Mm-hmm. Like, is dialect the correct word?
Yeah. She didn't even have an accent at all.
The mom did.
Oh.
And it was like, but it was just like a drag out with like the twang. Mm-hmm. But a twang is not Georgia. Georgia is like a slow like cuff on the words. Tennessee is like the twang. Alabama is like, hey, D.A. baby. Who's D.A. baby?
No, you didn't.
Can you tell that I literally worked for a
Alabama man?
Alabama man? Yeah.
Who's D.A. baby?
Who's D.A. baby?
I guess I'll just have to watch Charlie and Chocolate Factory again for the 18th millionth time.
Okay, we were talking about this off mic. Why is it that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory / Willy Wonka / Twilight has become our like main movies that we discuss?
I don't know.
And Marvel. We're now Marvegers.
Yeah, we are Marvegers.
We are now. Wow.
Oh,
boys, look what you've done.
I love this about us. I love the new us. Okay. Anyway, Taylor, hit him with your part 2, babe.
Okay, guys. Part 2 of the Phoebe Handsjuk case. And I am going to hop right into it. So if you haven't listened to part 1, you need to head back to episode 102 and listen to the part before this because, like I said, we're jumping right in where we left off, which was us discussing the massive overlooks on the police and their investigation, dynamics of the trash chute, and the injuries that Phoebe sustained during her fall that could have possibly resulted in her pants, which were blue jeans with a belt through them, being in the position that they were at the time of her discovery. And I do want to give another trigger warning for talks about suicide, suicidal intentions, and discussions on each topic as it pertains to the case. But I mainly wanted to do this because I want to touch on a point that Phoebe's grandfather made with the reporters from The Age. How likely is it that Phoebe decided to take her life by falling down this trash chute? Had this ever been done before? Are there any other cases that we can compare injuries to and strange happenings to? Well, The Age dug into this question, and they searched for cases of individuals ending their lives in this way or ending up in this way, whether if it was like their own decision or an accident. So they checked in Australia for similar cases. There were none. They checked in the UK. Literally 0. They checked in all of the surrounding countries. None. The only 2 that they could find were in the US, and they happened to be in the same exact building.
What?
Yeah. Both of these individuals went down the chute head first, and they are also ruled as suicides.
Okay.
So that would make sense, if that's your intention with doing that. So do I think it's impossible that Phoebe's death was a suicide? No, I do not think it's impossible. In our first part, I placed a lot of emphasis on the fact that she would have been heavily intoxicated according to the coroner's findings and her toxicology report. And we discussed how hard it would have even been for her to get in this tiny hatch. And we even watched her friend, who is completely sober, struggle while trying to recreate this.
Right.
So I decided to look up things that individuals have done that was out of character, like not muscle memory, which was another thing that we talked about a lot, while on Ambien or Still Knox, which she was on Still Knox. And I found
Hello.
I found this Reddit thread on the Crime Junkie podcast community, and they were discussing Phoebe's case. This deleted user posted 2 years ago saying, quote, "I've taken Ambien with alcohol before, and I ended up on the roof of a building across town trying to get into its water tank.
Holy shit.
The maintenance man who found me, the property manager, and I still have no idea how I was able to lift the lid off to get in because it was so heavy. It took many other people to get this off of her. Or
Holy
them.
crap.
Right.
That reminds me of Cecil Hotel.
Yeah. Yes. Lisa Lamb.
Elisa Lamb.
Yes. So then they go on to say, it seems that you can become very limber when you're unconscious and impaired with these two substances. And I also want to note that in this same thread, there were discussions about the positions of Phoebe's pants, which some Reddit users were discussing the possibility that she may have taken them off to try and stop her foot from bleeding like a tourniquet, but was using too much energy and had to stop halfway through the process of taking her pants off, which again, at least for me, would not be the action of someone who was wanting to take their life, and makes me lean more towards the fact that this was more of an accidental death or the result of foul play. To answer my original question, no, it is not impossible that Phoebe's death was accidental. It is not impossible that it was a suicide, but I would bet if we were to ask the person who was trying to get into that water tank after taking Ambien and alcohol together, I bet they were going in head first.
For sure.
Because when you're climbing into something, if we're still reverting this back to muscle memory, you're going to go in something head first.
Yeah.
Right. And back to the point that if this was not just an action fueled by sleeping pills mixed with alcohol with the intention of ending your life, why wouldn't you go down head first?
Right.
If that was your intention. And don't forget, Phoebe would have been bleeding before ever making her way to the chute's hatch because there was blood all over her apartment, the computer, the floor, and even the door to the trash chute room where she would have to gone in the hatch. Yet there was not a single drop of blood on this hatch or around it. The only way that it would have been possible to even remotely return for her to return to the chute room and wipe it down, which we all know is literally impossible, she would have to be with another person to be able to go back and clean up her blood. But what would be the point of throwing yourself down a trash chute, getting back on the elevator when her key's in the apartment? You can't go on the elevator without your key.
Right.
So
I forgot about that.
Right. It's literally impossible. Well, after Phoebe's death, another tenant in the apartment building came forward to police and reported that she had seen a suspicious man at 4 p.m. that day on December 2nd, 2010, being buzzed up to the 12th floor on the elevator. Police followed this lead and were able to identify this man, saying that he had been working in the building that day and he was not suspicious. That was the end of that. Except for the woman who reported this did not believe that the man police had identified was the man she had seen that day. She could not positively identify him. And they were like, oh, case closed, we're good.
Why are they so adamant about the case being... Oh, wait, I know why. Just kidding.
It's just odd. Phoebe's grandfather, who is the retired homicide detective, Lauren Campbell, he alleges that in addition to the wine glass blood and other liquids that investigators had overlooked in Phoebe and Anthony's apartment that day, is the fact that also from Phoebe's apartment leading out, there were samples of large shoe prints that were obviously not Phoebe's and obviously not Anthony's. Yes, these could belong to one of the officers who had come up to the room to accompany Anthony or walk around the entire apartment with him, because they called up a bunch of people, which is yet again another massive fucking fuck up on their part, because you're not securing a crime scene, you're not wearing booties when you're walking in, and it's the last place that Phoebe was known to be. So why wouldn't we want to protect and preserve that scene? Not to mention failing to interview any other residents on the 12th floor.
What the fuck?
In addition to not closing off the entrance or the exit points in the apartment building, let alone monitoring them to make sure that there wasn't any suspicious activity or weird people coming in. And they did not collect any of the trash from the couple's apartment. They let a housekeeper come in and clean the next day. And they did not collect any trash bags or samples from the trash bin that Phoebe landed in when she went into the compactor room. meaning that they have no clue if she had actually thrown away that glass that they found on the floor, which is what led them to believe in the first place
that she was even
that
going there.
yes, that she chose to like go into the trash room. So we have no idea what was below her. We have no idea if that glass was actually in there. And that also means that they did not collect any evidence from the trash bins that could potentially have led to breakthroughs in the investigation, which would have given at least some insight as to who had been in the trash chute rooms on all 12 floors that day, or who had been using the trash chute directly before and after Phoebe went into it.
Yeah.
Which they could have heard or seen something.
Right.
Despite all of this, by the 1-year anniversary of Phoebe's death, her case was closed and her death was attributed to an accidental / primarily suicide. But Lauren and the rest of Phoebe's family, Lauren, her grandfather, refused to back down. So in 2013, a full inquest into her death was held after Natalie, Phoebe's mother, raised $50,000 to cover the proceedings, during which Anthony Hampel's attorney objected the notion that Phoebe Handsjuk was murdered, with the coroner, Peter White, testifying that Phoebe had sleptwalked into the chute herself. So naturally, I had to read the 155 pages of the 2 documents that I spoke about in part 1.
Naturally.
The submission assisting PDF and the coroner's finding PDF, which you can obtain. I also obtained from the Ages website and the Phoebe's Fall podcast resources. This is basically, from what I understand, the request for the coroner to organize and run an inquest into Phoebe's case. And I can't remember if I said this in part 1, but in Australia, a coroner is pretty different than a coroner in the US. So let's go through the difference of some terminologies. A coroner is defined as a government or judicial, I can never say that word, official who is empowered to conduct or order an inquest into the manner or cause of death of an individual. And they are to also investigate and or confirm the identity of any unknown individuals who have been found deceased within their jurisdiction. Depending on their jurisdiction, a coroner may have the authority to override a cause of death and or act as the presiding officer in court, which is not to be confused with the duties of a medical examiner. A medical examiner is defined as an appointed official in the U.S., which varies depending on the state and the county laws, who is trained in pathology. They are to investigate deaths that occur under unusual or suspicious circumstances, perform postmortem examinations, and in some jurisdictions, initiate inquiries. Now, this is pretty confusing, but in the U.S., there are 2 death investigation systems. There's the coroner system and the medical examiner system. In 2002, it was reported that 22 states 22 American states used the medical examiner system, 11 used the coroner system, and 18 had a mixed system, which literally makes no fucking sense to me. Like, why do we not just have one overall?
Right.
Meaning the coroner is not necessarily a medical doctor. They're more like a lawyer. And in some states, a medical examiner does not have to be a forensic pathologist, just a physician that has like no training in forensic like pathology of any sort or biology of any sort.
What?
Yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe that you pretty much have to be a forensic pathologist in order to officially deem a cause of death in most American states. Also in the United States, there are oh God, I'm not giving numbers. 1,590 coroner's offices.
Wow.
Look at that. And qualifications to be a coroner vary between different states and counties, as I said before. In many jurisdictions, there are little to no training required, despite the fact that the coroner literally has the authority to override a forensic pathologist in naming the official cause of death of an individual.
That is insane.
Right. In some states, coroners are appointed, and in others, they are elected officials. An example of this is in Nebraska, the county DA is that county's coroner. In Texas, the justice of the peace may be in charge of death investigations, and in other states like Georgia and Colorado, they name their sheriff the coroner. Whereas in Australia, coroners are responsible for investigating and determining the cause of death in cases that are reported to them. In the states of New South Wales, South Australia, Victoria, and Western Australia, they have state coroners who specialize in, it's coroner's court, but it's like Cornell court. I can't say it.
Cornell University?
Yeah, basically. Coroner's court. Basically what that means is they're more of like a judge in Australia, they're bringing in forensic biologists, forensic pathologists, regular physicians, and like multiple like different forms of this whenever you have like a coroner's court, because basically the coroner is like a judge and you bring your case to them and you're like, hey, I want you to look into this. I don't think it's right. This cause of death is not right, which is what the forensic pathologist determined. And the coroner looks through it and says, yes, I will change it. No, I won't change it. Like, yes, I will change it by doing an investigation into it, or no, I'm not going to bother. They were right.
So when they conclude their findings, is it based off of like evidence found at the scene, or is it based off of body?
So it's everything. So
like at some point they do have to have some sense of law education in a way of like field work. Like,
yes, they do have to know how to like look at a crime scene and be able to like walk through it and know like the laws, and there's a lot of different pieces to it. That's why it's like so hard to understand exactly what all I mean, I literally cover these every day. I say these names all the time: coroner, medical examiner, MEO. Like, you hear me say it all the time, and I literally was fucking shell shocked at reading some of the stuff. I was like, that makes no sense. I knew like a coroner was like a medical examiner, sort of like in the way could do autopsies and like write on death certificates, but they were also like a lawyer, and they are the person who goes in the court and talks the most.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, sorry for that rant, but everyone needs to know that, so I'm glad we cleared it up. Okay, so back to the inquest into Phoebe's case in the document titled The Submission of the Counsel Assisting the Coroner, which is basically Phoebe's family's attorney formally requesting with the Coroner Court of Victoria that the investigation into Phoebe's death be reviewed in an inquest. Starting on page 2, they walk through every single detail of Phoebe's discovery, certain individuals' actions that day, and how Phoebe's day went. But on pages 7 and 9, something caught my eye. Like we discussed in part 1, it was clear that once Phoebe fell into the trash chute room in the basement, her foot was nearly amputated and she crawled to the door. But not just that. She crawled around this dark room, corner to corner, searching for the door before finally finding it and resting in front of it. Therefore, she left a very large path on the ground. Well, on page 7, paragraph 28, it is stated that Dr. Odell, who was a forensic physician working Phoebe's case, indicated in his findings and initial reports that the entire chute itself was extremely dirty. Obviously, people are dumping their trash down it literally every single fucking day. Noting that her back had a ton of dirt and like other foreign waste material deposits on them, aka indicating that during her fall through the chute, her back drug against the chute itself. And they go on to say that in Dr. Odell's reporting, there are no references to dirt stains on Phoebe's hands, upper limbs, or clothing. The only injuries in these areas indicated that Phoebe had tried to break her fall or slow her fall by applying force against the chute, like pushing her hands and arms and feet against it. Yet there was no dirt, no muck in any of these areas, and her back was covered.
She was struggling around on the ground.
Because I'm thinking like, okay, she's crawling around this room. You know that floor is fucking atrocious. You know it had to be.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't she at least have some muck on her hands from crawling around the floor? They're acting like it's sparkly clean.
Was held up by her hands and drug around, placed in the room.
That's
where
what
they
I think too. That's what I think when I was reading this. I was like, what in the hell? So in cases like this, we typically see blood spatter being a big role in determining like these missing pieces and filling in these blanks. Because think about it, if I were to throw water at you right now, if we looked on the wall behind you, I would be able to tell that you were sitting here. There was an object, and all the places around you would outline you. So we can see what's in the room around someone if there is blood spatter. So, forensic biologist from the Victorian Police Forensic Service Center, Louise Brown, was brought in on this case, and she described a projected blood stain as a stain that forms from a force that is greater than gravity, such as the impact that Phoebe would have had when falling into the trash bin. Yet, Louise Brown reported that there were no blood stains or spatter of this nature found in the trash room or the bin that Phoebe fell into.
What the fuck?
She literally amputated her foot.
Right.
There's going to be something.
Absolutely.
Like, it's going to go places.
Also, I'm so shook at the way you say spatter.
Well, there's blood splatter and then there's blood
different.
spatter. Yeah, they're different.
Okay.
Some
I was like, should I stop her and tell her? But then I was like, I think there is a separate word.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I don't know.
I actually just learned it the other day.
Interesting.
So
Spatter.
blood spatter. Yeah. And you know who taught me? Phoebe, my little sister.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Lola, both of them. They were talking about. They both are in criminal justice classes.
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, are you guys killing it?" And Lola's like, "Yeah, I covered one of your cases the other day on my paper." And I was like, "You mean you logged into my account
and stole my
took
Google
my
notes?
You took my notes, bitch? Is that what you did?" So funny. So next on page 9, starting with paragraph 34, they explained that after landing in the trash bin at the bottom of the chute, which had been knocked over either by Phoebe climbing out of it, rocking it over, or by her impact into the bin, she would stop and start at various locations in her journey while like crawling around. They could tell this because of the blood trail that she had left on the ground. Like there were certain places where it was pooling and you could see that she sat there for a little bit. There's much more blood, and then there's like trickles in other places. Detective Senior Constable Justin O'Brien reported that the blood path on the floor appeared to be dry from his view in the doorway of the trash chute room at 7:22 p.m. And remember that ambulance officer Cook who was denied access to Phoebe's body?
Yes.
Okay, remember that? Well, she also reported from her view of the room at 7:27 p.m. the blood was also dried. However, on page 10, paragraph 36, it is stated that when Anthony was asked about the blood that he had found on the computer keyboard in the apartment when he came into contact with it at 6:19 p.m. Remember when he was like logging on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. He reported that it was completely fresh. Yes, blood can dry in an hour. That is not what I'm concerned about. It's a fact that Phoebe's time of death and injury window has never been solidified other than from the time frame of 12:02 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Right.
So it just seems like no one cares to actually figure out what time all of this happened to Phoebe. And forensic biologist Dr. Brown actually reported that when she was assessing the temperature of the room and the humidity, she would be typically able to figure out how fresh or old blood is in cases like this, because you can just see like how light or how dark it is or how solid it is. Yet forensic pathologist Dr. Lynch, who performed Phoebe's original autopsy, was unable to determine how long it would have taken for her to become unconscious and ultimately die due to shock after major blood loss, saying that it would depend on how she was positioned, her health, her age, and the food that was in her system, which we literally know all of these. But due to Phoebe's health, age, and build, Dr. Lynch believes that she would have likely bled out in 5 to 10 minutes after sustaining these injuries to her foot specifically, because that's what caused the most blood loss. Yet, despite Phoebe's injuries, the blood stains on the floor, the food that was in her system and well digested at the time of her death in her post-mortem, and other evidence that was found in her and Anthony's apartment, no time of death, no time of injury, neither of these were ever determined, which is literally mind-blowing, might I add.
I just don't understand what the fuck they're doing.
Me either. I don't get it. I don't understand.
And if he's saying, okay, this blood is fresh at what time too?
He said 6:19, it was fresh blood.
Okay, so then that makes her time of death anywhere from what, 4:30?
Like
5?
It would have been dry in an hour. Like blood dries in an hour. I mean, you cut your foot, your knee, literally.
So it decreases that time of death by at least 5 hours.
Right. And for it to be like a little bit of like a droplet that's on this keyboard that he's working on, it's wet. He like wipes it.
And also, aren't you like, that's weird?
I don't know. You bleed all the time, and I literally wasn't even shocked.
But if I came home
well, hold on. We're going to get back into this, okay? I promise I'm going to let you go on this rant because I want to go on it with you. I'm not gonna lie, when the seasons change, my skin, hair, and even my nails change with it. Sometimes I'm super oily, other times I am beyond dry. It's like my hair and nails are either growing at a rapid rate or not at all. Because of this, I am constantly changing my products and my routines. Searching for something new is overwhelming because there are so many options to choose from. And when it comes to skincare products that actually work, oh my God, stress overload. But luckily for us and you, our listeners, we have Apostrophe, the sponsor of this episode.
Apostrophe is an online platform that connects you with an expert dermatology team to get customized acne treatment for your unique skin. Through Apostrophe, you can get access to oral and topical medications that use clinically proven ingredients to help clear acne. Simply fill out an online consultation about your skin goals and medical history. Then, snap a few selfies and a board-certified dermatologist will create your first customized treatment plan. Apostrophe offers access to treatments for all types of acne, from hormonal acne to facial acne and even back, chest, and butt acne. They treat breakouts from head to toe. My skincare goals are to reduce the dryness of my skin and the redness, and Apostrophe has been able to give me a specific curated treatment plan for doing just that. And I've noticed a huge improvement on both of those areas of my face.
Right, me too. Mine was more about clearing up my back acne and my facial acne, which gets really bad around my period.
Yeah.
And so it's hormonal, and I know that. And when I was talking with my provider on Apostrophe, they made it so fast and easy to get exactly what I needed to clear all of my acne up and leave me with a glowing, gorgeous face.
We love a confident queen.
And we have a special deal for you, our audience today. Get your first visit with an Apostrophe provider for only $5 at apostrophe.com/creepsandcrimes when you use our code creepsandcrimes. That's a savings of $15. This code is only available to our listeners.
To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/creepsandcrimes and click begin visit. Then use our code creepsandcrimes at sign up and you'll get your first visit for only $5. Thank you, Apostrophe, for sponsoring this episode.
Then they go into detail about her genes. So let's circle back to the final conversation that we had in part 1. Page 10, paragraph 39, which I'm going to read verbatim. Quote, when Phoebe was discovered, her jeans were positioned just below her knees and her belt was undamaged. Threaded through 2 loops of her jeans, it is unknown why Phoebe's jeans were below her knees. Miss Brown, the forensic biologist, considered it unlikely that the belt she wore would have fallen into an unfastened state. There was evidence that some of the injuries were consistent with the jeans being on her as worn, is what they say, when the injuries were sustained. Other injuries were not consistent with that proposition, such as the damage to the sides of her right and left legs. However, Ms. Brown gave evidence that the damage to the clothing will not always be replicated in the injuries to the wearer of that specific garment. And factors such as the tightness of the fit, the depth of the penetration into the fabric, and type of fabric may be significant in all of this. Ms. Brown surmised that the belt on the jeans may have been unbuckled by Phoebe herself. It is possible that Phoebe tried to remove the jeans after exiting the shoe in order to help her move around the room, but it became too painful to remove them entirely. So given the nature of her injuries, it was also possible that she tried to just remove the belt from her jeans in order to stem the blood flow. The evidence does not enable a definitive finding to be made in this regard. End quote. Lots of drama. To sum this up,
Lots of drama.
they're saying that some injuries that Phoebe sustained were suggesting that her jeans were down at the time of the fall, but others do not. Ultimately, the jeans themselves show no damage. Like, they do not align with the injuries on her legs. And they're saying like, oh, it doesn't always reflect into the garment, like to the jeans. Well, if we know one thing about fucking jeans, them hoes gonna rip, they're gonna pick, and they're going to wear their jeans. I don't understand the amount of confusion that they're giving us. Like, aren't you guys the professionals here?
Right.
Isn't this your job? So the question I raised to that point about her possibly taking her jeans off after the fall in order to move around and use them as a tourniquet, if we can see in the evidence photos where she was stopping and starting to crawl due to the pattern of the blood and the pooling of it, wouldn't we be able to see the smear of her potentially like laying on her back and trying to shimmy off her jeans? I mean, seriously, think about how you have to take jeans off if you're sitting down and physically cannot stand up. You have to like rock onto your back, give yourself some leverage, which typically I would use both of my feet, but she's severely injured on one of her feet, so she's gonna have to only use one.
It'd be very difficult.
It'd be very, very fucking difficult to push these jeans below your hips, and they're tight fitted, might I add, and you then have to sit up and then shimmy them off of your legs. So if you're needing a tourniquet, why wouldn't you just say, fuck taking these jeans off? Because honestly, that might give
Get
more
my belt
blood.
off.
Right. I'm just going to take my belt off and tie it tightly around above the injured area. Not to mention how Miss Brown suggested that taking her jeans off would have been either for the purpose of a tourniquet or the act of needing more mobility. Well, if mobility was the purpose of taking the entire jeans off of your body, why would you push them below your knees, limiting your mobility even more?
Right.
Okay, so we just basically went over in more detail everything that I discussed in part 1, which I'm sorry for, but it was pretty necessary for the way that they explained these next parts. And I tried my best to sum it up in the best way that I could, where it isn't too much detail that you don't need to know and that you've already heard, but also I want you to hear the way that they're saying a lot of things. This is where they walk us through all of the evidence as to the circumstances of death, starting on page 12, section 4. And they present all 4 possible theories as to what could have happened to Phoebe that day. Number 1 is death by suicide. Number 2 is a result of a borderline personality disorder. Number 3 is an accidental misadventure. Number 4 is the death by a third party, aka a homicide. Phoebe was murdered. So we're going to start off by discussing number 1, death by suicide. And trigger warning, as we are going to be discussing a lot of intimate conversations that Phoebe had with friends and family members and even her psychologist and other medical professionals concerning suicide, suicidal ideations, self-harm, drug and alcohol abuse, along with other potential triggering topics. Sorry, my throat keeps cutting out, y'all. First, let's discuss the factors that led Victoria Police Department to believe that Phoebe had taken her own life as written in the inquiry submission. At the time of her death, Phoebe was taking antidepressants which were prescribed to her by her GP. And she had a known history of alcohol abuse. Specifically, in the days before her death, she was currently experiencing one of her bender episodes. And before I go on, I want to reference page 3, paragraph 10 of this submission. Phoebe was prescribed 60 milligrams of Cymbalta for her depression, and in 2009, she was diagnosed as suffering from alcohol abuse. However, she did not drink on a regular basis, which I think I said this before. She was a binge drinker, and she would take extended breaks from alcohol as she was extremely sensitive to it and how it affected her. Natalie, her mother, Lauren, her grandfather, who was the retired homicide detective, Russell, who is Natalie's longtime boyfriend, and even her best friend, Brendan, all testified that Phoebe could not handle her alcohol at fucking all. She would become extremely clumsy after literally a single glass, and by her second glass, she would be heavily affected. As I stated in part 1, 9 months prior to Phoebe's death, her grandmother, Jeanette Campbell, told police that she had seen marks on Phoebe's wrist. When she asked Phoebe about these marks, Phoebe explained that she was not suicidal in any way, shape, or form or attempting to self-harm. In other statements to police, Natalie, her mother, also referred to an instance where Phoebe had self-harmed herself intentionally, along with Phoebe's close friend Vanessa reporting something a little bit different. So Vanessa says that on the night of November 17th, 2010, literally weeks prior to Phoebe's death, they were talking when Phoebe began discussing self-mutilation and loathing. And this concerned Vanessa because a few months prior, they were hanging out at Phoebe's and Anthony's apartment. And Phoebe pulled a chair out to her 12th floor balcony and was standing on the railing, making jokes about jumping. Granted, this happened months prior, but the November 17th conversation played a large role in the police's investigation in ruling her death a suicide because it correlated with the conversation that Phoebe had with her psychologist, Dr. Young, on Tuesday, November 30th at 12:01 p.m. Phoebe called Dr. Young in a distressed state on the apartment's landline. According to Dr. Young, Phoebe told her that she felt, quote, extremely distressed about relationship issues and drinking heavily and felt unsafe, end quote. Dr. Young then verbally inferred that she believed Phoebe was referencing to feeling unsafe as in being actively suicidal. After pulling telephone records, investigators found that in the moments before calling Dr. Young, Phoebe had also called the Alfred Hospital and the High Street Medical Clinic, which is where her GP was located. And after getting off the phone with Dr. Young, Phoebe then called her best friend Brendan, who I had mentioned earlier, on his cell phone at 2:41 p.m. However, he was unable to answer the call, so she left a voicemail saying that if he did not call her back, she would, quote, leave this world forever. Bye, end quote. But when this recording was played in court, Brendan said that when listening to his best friend's tone of voice, the way that she's speaking, like her grammar almost, he did not believe that she was actually struggling. Like this was not something serious. She was just joking around. So let's discuss relationship issues and triggers that pushed Phoebe to this level of distress where she's feeling unsafe and needing to call her psychologist and her GP and her friend. According to Brendan, on November 29th, he and Phoebe were hanging out, and all of a sudden, Anthony starts blowing up Phoebe's phone. Literally, records show that there were 6 to 10 phone calls in one 30-minute span from Anthony to Phoebe's cell phone. Phoebe was really upset and obviously angry at Anthony, and the two got into a, quote, brief argument, end quote. Anthony said himself that their relationship was rocky and it had many ups and downs. And Phoebe's friends and family said, yes, 100%, it was fucking rocky, but that is an understatement. They all believed that it was coming to an end and extremely unstable, especially in the months leading up to Phoebe's death. In fact, in the 3 months prior to her death, both Natalie and Tom, her mom and her brother, testified that Anthony and Phoebe had broken up on 4 different occasions, to which Anthony claimed were simply 4 short separations, which I'm going to come back to here in a bit. So on the night of her death, December 2nd, 2010, Anthony was recorded giving the following statement. So after she was discovered and he was being interviewed by police, he said, quote, I believe that as a result of Phoebe's depression and alcohol abuse, she took her life tonight, end quote. So again, everything that we just discussed was what led police to believe that she had taken her own life and the evidence that was presented by the investigators to support their claims. But now let's discuss what the findings were after cross-examinations in which all of this evidence and testimony was elaborated on and tested. And for those who want to follow along, this starts on page 14, paragraph 48. That was all in a timeline from November 26th to December 1st is what they were focusing on when saying this is why we think that this was a suicide. Well, also in that time frame of all these conversations that we just discussed, Phoebe spoke with multiple friends and family members about her plans to, quote, get away. She planned to travel to Malakuta, which is where her grandmother lived, Jeanette, and to India, where she wanted to do volunteer work. She was looking into a few different courses that she could enroll in to further study creative arts. And in regards to the argument that she had with Anthony about his insane back-to-back phone calls while she was getting coffee with her friend Brendan, she spoke to her mom, Natalie, and Russell about their argument and this entire incident. In this conversation, Phoebe said that she was not angry about how she handled the argument and how she reacted. She knew that she was not in the wrong at all. She was actually more upset about the principal and how Anthony had acted out against her. It was just an act of control. He just needed to have her to himself always. And it was pretty clear that the two made up from this because Anthony testified that on the evening of December 1st, Phoebe was hungover and tired from her previous bender, but she was in a, quote, recovery phase and in a better place. And there were no questions in his mind that she was starting what he called her positive cycle, as her behavior was consistent with how she would ordinarily present herself when coming out of these binge drinking episodes. So he described her as being calm, quiet, contemplative, reflective, and having her appetite back, which is a big flag that she's coming to a better place. Also on the night of December 1st, Anthony testified that he showed Phoebe airline tickets that he had purchased for the two of them to fly to Paris on December 21st, which she was obviously super fucking excited about. And she had also made plans to catch up with her friend Sarah on December 2nd, either before or after dinner with Anthony and her father. In a cross-examination with Dr. Young, Phoebe's psychologist, Dr. Young confirmed that during that phone call that she had with Phoebe on December 30th at 12:01 p.m., Phoebe never explicitly said that she was planning to commit suicide or having suicidal ideations. Dr. Young had perceived Phoebe's worries of, quote, feeling unsafe to mean that she was considering taking pills and alcohol to end her life. Dr. Young also agreed that in her original statement that, quote, Phoebe struggled with her life was not a life or death situation, but potentially could have been a reference to Phoebe's need for change, her relationship issues, and her dissatisfaction with her career. Following that phone call, which took place again at 12:01 p.m. on November 30th, Phoebe then sent Dr. Young a follow-up text message at 3:50 p.m. saying, quote, I am okay, we'll call you tomorrow, XX, end quote. And at 4 p.m., 10 minutes after Phoebe sent this text message to Dr. Young, she met with her friend Ben for coffee. Ben testified that during their coffee catch-up, Phoebe was, quote, calm, lucid, and confident, end quote. She was showing off her new haircut. She was like, oh my God, doesn't this look so good? She was talking to Ben about how excited she was to potentially travel to India and do voluntary work. And back to Vanessa's conversation with Phoebe on November 17th about the self-harm and loathing, Vanessa testified that that conversation was not specifically about Phoebe personally. They were actually just talking about how depression affects other people and how it can affect people very differently. And that's how they got to that point of the conversation. And as for the balcony incident, Vanessa did not believe that Phoebe was actually going to jump. It was more of like a sarcastic act. Like, I'm going to pull this up and like, I'm going to end it right here. Not in a serious manner. So as to the Post-it notes, which I briefly mentioned that were in the apartment on the day that Phoebe went missing, they were just like they were just like, if I were to like wake up in the middle of the night, have Post-it notes beside my bed, and back when I used to do choreography and would write shit out or lay out formations, it was kind of like that. So Anthony, kept saying like, oh, these manic writings, da 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 da. But then when he was cross-examined, he was like, oh, they were more like the same writings in her diary. Same font, same phrasing, same writing, same direction. So what evidence does her friends and family have that points to the fact that she did not end her own life? When they were cross-examined, they were basically pulling all of these like holes and like asking for more detailed questions on all of these. So the family conjured up about 10 things pointing to the fact that Phoebe did not end her own life. Number one, like I stated before, Phoebe was extremely close with her brothers, both Nick and Tom, and her grandmother, Jeanette. And they believe that Phoebe would have never done such a thing. A, well, Grandma Jeanette was in town. B, when Nick's birthday celebration was the next day, December 3rd, which she planned on decorating and like planned out everything that she wanted to do. Like, she was literally an artist. Like, she was excited about this. C, her mother had just returned home on the evening of December 1st from a 9-week work project in the Western Desert. D, you know how she and Anthony were supposed to be going to dinner with Phoebe's father? Like, literally, that's the whole entire thing. Well, it wasn't just any dinner, I learned through reading this. It was his fucking birthday.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not joking. Phoebe was also very close with Russell, who is her mother's boyfriend, and the two had this like open door policy, but also a sealed door policy, meaning Phoebe was always able to confide her struggles and dark moments with Russell, and he would keep all these conversations in confidence. Russell believed that if Phoebe were going to be in a suicidal headspace, the two would have at least some conversation pointing to her plans, as they had done this prior. This is like nothing new. Like, they had had conversations about like mental illness and suicidal ideations and self-harm on multiple different occasions. So if that's the way that Phoebe would typically handle these feelings, why wouldn't she reach out this one time?
Right.
And again, I said this in part 1, mental illness, like mental struggles, that there is depression, suicide, there is not a single like book on it. It's not, no one is the same.
It's not firm, like it's not in writing.
Right. It there's nothing about it that's like set in stone.
Right.
So it can be different for multiple other people. But literally, guys, her dad is a psychiatrist, which, that's a good and a bad thing. But she knows how to speak and use her words, and she did clearly. She spoke with many people about her struggles.
And she showed so many like aspirations and goals,
right,
in like the near future. Not to mention every good thing that was going on in her life.
Exactly. There were things that were literally the next day that she was excited for and looking forward to and planning. Mm-hmm. And again, not to say that you can't make a snap decision and say like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. At all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is not her MO. That's the best way I can put it. This is not her MO.
Like, she wasn't necessarily on a downer.
Right. She was coming up. So Vanessa had lunch with Phoebe on the 26th, and the two talked at length about how Phoebe was enrolling in courses. She like found the courses that she was enrolling in, and she was like sending in all of her stuff to get in. She was quitting her job at the advertising agency that she had currently been working at, and she was looking forward to changing her life. She wanted to put it all back together. In fact, she'd applied to so many jobs in the days leading up to her death that the day after she was discovered on December 3rd, she had gotten 3 emails for interviews as a writer, which was her passion. She wanted to be a writer. Oh my God. Literally her dream job. And this was finally her taking a leap towards this goal of hers. In fact, Dr. Young testified at the hearing that she was extremely shocked to hear that Phoebe's cause of death had been ruled a suicide because, quote, "I did not think that Phoebe would have ever killed herself," end quote. Her fucking psychologist said this.
Wow.
Even going on to say, if Phoebe were to have passed away as a result of pills or alcohol, it 100% would have been accidental in her professional opinion. Even Dr. Odell, the forensic physician, Professor Olaf Drummer, the head of Forensic Scientific Services and the Department of Forensic Medicine, and the Associate Director, Naren Gunjaw, a clinical and forensic toxicologist, they all investigated Phoebe's case. And they testified that the quantity of sleeping pills in Phoebe's system was at a therapeutic level, and her antidepressant, Cymbalta, was at a normal range for her prescribed usage. And lastly, Phoebe was an avid writer. She literally carried a journal in her purse. She had like multiple for every purse, and she would write in it multiple times a day. When she's walking down the street, she would start writing. She was getting coffee, she would write it. Like, she was writing in this all the time. Not only did she not allude to taking her life or thoughts of taking her life in her latest entries, according to all of her friends, family members, and even her fucking doctors, Phoebe would have left a note at the very, very least. Which concludes our first theory and ultimately the ruling on Phoebe's death, suicide. Leading us to our second theory, which starts on page 20, paragraph 56, section 4.2. Was Phoebe's death caused by a borderline personality disorder? First, I want to make clear, as it is clearly stated in the submission, Phoebe was never diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. This theory actually came about because of Phoebe's former psychiatrist who had treated her between 2008 and 2009, senior consultant psychiatrist Dr. Peter Chervin. Dr. Chervin stated that her behavior in the time that he had Phoebe as a patient was consistent with the diagnosis of the early stages of BPD, or borderline personality disorder. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, BPD is described as, quote, "a mental illness that severely impacts a person's ability to regulate their emotions. This loss of emotional control can increase impulsivity, affect how a person feels about themselves, and negatively impact their relationships with others," end quote. A few signs and symptoms of BPD are 1, intense mood swings, 2, feeling uncertainty about how they view themselves. Number 3, feelings towards others can change extremely fast, swinging from an extreme closeness with an individual to an extreme dislike with an individual. Number 4, viewing everything in extremes. A, it is literally either 10 out of 10 great, amazing all the time, or B, it is literally negative 100 out of 10, life is falling apart, everything is worst of the worst. And there are many more that I could list. At the time of Phoebe's death, Dr. Chervin had not seen her in approximately 12 months. Dr. Young, Phoebe's current psychologist at the time of her death, considered that Phoebe had, quote, elements of BPD, end quote. But she did not meet the full criteria, adding that based on Dr. Chervin's assessment, Phoebe's condition had remained the same, meaning that she never showed any progression of the signs that Dr. Chervin had observed. Must we not forget, Phoebe's father, Dr. Handsjuk, who has been a practicing psychiatrist for 40 years at the time of this inquiry, which was 2013, testified that at the time of his daughter's death, he spent ample time reflecting on the experiences that he had with her, not only as a loving father, but also as an experienced psychiatrist, analyzing every single detail that he could have possibly missed, almost obsessively. Therefore, in his professional opinion and the fact that he had breakfast with his daughter every single Monday morning, he did not believe that Phoebe suffered from BPD and even had his colleague testify and confirm his findings. Dr. Handsjuk described BPD as a vexed question within the psychiatric field and profession, noting that it does not have a linear progression and statistically it gets better, meaning the behavior typically becomes less dramatic over time with the treatment that Phoebe was already experiencing for her depression. Based on the testimonies, findings, and evidence presented by these professionals, they do not believe that Phoebe's death was caused or related to BPD, leading us to theory number 3, death by misadventure. So what I interpret from this section of the submission, in order for the coroner to conclude the findings that Phoebe's death was the result of a misadventure and not an intentional ending of her own life, they must be satisfied on the balance of probabilities, meaning that there must be ample evidence to suggest that Phoebe did not intend on doing an act that would end her life on that day. So with that being said, basically the goal of this is to have her manner of death be changed from suicide to accidental. And there is plenty of evidence to support this theory. Number 1, many of her friends and family, specifically Ben, testified that Phoebe would get very adventurous after drinking. She loved climbing things.
Said we do anything.
Right. So Ben referenced an instance where they had been drinking one night and they were walking home and Phoebe tried to climb this like super tall fence. But as I stated before, Phoebe became extremely clumsy even after one glass of wine, and she slipped and fell and broke her arm during this incident. And Anthony testified the same thing happened to them when they were in Bali on a trip, because they were on holiday, they had been drinking, they're walking back to their like hotel or whatever, and he looks over and Phoebe's up in a tree. Now, she didn't break anything that day, but like it just is a testament to her nature.
Yeah.
They continue and reference the recreation of Phoebe's ability to get into the chute on her own. And it was possible, but even when sober, it would have been extremely difficult. And it was clear that Phoebe's postmortem toxicology report that she was absolutely not sober. In her system, she tested positive for 0.16 grams of ethanol in her blood, aka her BAC, 0.02 milligrams of Stilnox, the sleeping pill, 1.4 milligrams of Ky9, okay, whatever, which is found in tonic water and also can be used to treat cramps. But if you like literally Google this, quinine, I don't know how to say it. If you Google it, it's like gin and tonic drinkers, hey.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like it's really interesting.
I also think that's like an ingredient in like juices.
It is.
Interesting.
Yes. 400 nanograms, I guess, of Cymbalta, which was her what she was prescribed, and there was trace amounts of dextromethorphan in her blood, which is cough medicine. I just wish I would have said cough medicine. I don't know why I tried that. Dr. Odell, who I mentioned earlier, gave evidence that the mix of alcohol, Stilnox, Cymbalta, and this cough medication can have extreme effects on the brain and the nervous system, such as affecting one's behavior, consciousness, and the abilities to think clearly. Associate Professor Gunja noted that in Korea, 5% of psychiatric outpatients reported amnesia and sleepwalking while taking Stilnox, and went on to explain that in addition to this, there is a considerable amount of interaction between Stilnox and alcohol when mixed. When they are taken together, it severely impairs memory, alertness, and balance. In his professional opinion, after reviewing the levels indicated in Phoebe's toxicology reports, she would have been expected to be experiencing drowsiness, impaired balance, and posture, and impairment of both the cognitive and psychomotor functions. However, medical experts were unable to determine what time Phoebe ingested these listed substances, meaning that they only had the ability to assess the CCTV footage in the lobby and the front entrance of the apartment building at 11:43 a.m. on December 2nd when she had gone out for the fire drill. And after viewing this, and I think they used like a body language expert, they do not believe she was under the influence of these substances at the time, or at least not in the peak drug effect at the time. Therefore, she would have likely taken these medications either right before, so it wasn't in her system yet, or right after returning to her flat. Though they cannot say that Phoebe was unable to form intent, it is more likely that she would have been asleep or in a different, unaware state of consciousness at this time. Though it would be difficult in the state that she was in, under the influence of all these substances, climb into the chute on her own, she could have done it. But that wraps up our third theory. And honestly, after reading through this section, I really don't believe that the family actually believes that this was an accident. I think that this portion of the case that they were presenting to the court was more of an emphasis about how difficult it would have been for Phoebe to do this on her own.
Absolutely.
Based off the experiment that Lauren performed and the amount of drugs and alcohol that were in her system at the time of her death. Meaning, I think this section was primarily to strengthen their fourth theory by gathering and presenting evidence pointing to the fact that in order for Phoebe to get into the chute, there would have been another person there to help her, which is our final theory, number 4, death by third-party involvement, meaning that Phoebe's death was a homicide and not a suicide. So we are going to go through the list of evidence that the Handsjuk's team gathered in support of this theory. Number 1, bruises on Phoebe's body. Dr. Lynch observed multiple bruises on Phoebe's body. First, there were bruises on her right upper arm that were in a circular or oval shape, in which he described to be a recent injury that would be consistent with grip marks, like if someone were to grab your arm. Next, there were bruising on her left wrist, right jawline, left and right shoulders, and the back of her neck. Each of these, Dr. Lynch described to be consistent with some sort of blunt force trauma. However, Dr. Lynch could not determine when or how any of these bruises on Phoebe's body were sustained. AKA, there is no evidence to suggest that they were inflicted before, during, or after entering the chute or dying.
Wow.
Yet, Anthony testified that on the night and the morning before her death, Phoebe had no bruising or lacerations on any part of her body. The next set of evidence, number 2, is the blood, glass, and white stuffing that was found in the apartment. Remember we talked about Ollie?
Mm-hmm.
So when Anthony returned home from work at 6:09 p.m. in the apartment, he found all these items. And police who were on the scene observed and photographed the blood on the doorway in the couple's study, the blood on the computer mouse, and Dr. Brown, the forensic biologist that I mentioned earlier, identified in these photos additional blood markings that were on the computer desk and the computer mouse that were overlooked. The blood was then sampled and tested, only the smear on the doorway, literally not everything else. And it was identified to belong to Phoebe. However, the blood on the mouse, the keypad, the keyboard, the mouse pad, the keyboard, and the desk, they were never tested.
Such bullshit.
In addition to the blood, there was broken glass on the floor of the apartment hallway leading to the kitchen. This glass did not have any blood on it, and though police claim it came from a drinking glass, this glass was never located, determined, or matched. Though there were no substances on the floor to allude that this glass was the result of Phoebe dropping a drinking glass, there was some staining on the wall. However, they never took samples of it, they never investigated it, and they never tested it. When police entered the apartment initially to look at the photos of Phoebe with Anthony, they observed white stuffing from a cushion scattered across the entire living room. Neither police or Anthony saw Phoebe's dog tearing up these cushions and witnessed it firsthand. They all just assumed. However, when police entered the apartment, Phoebe's dog was literally on the patio, locked outside, napping.
The fuck?
I don't know. The third presentation of evidence is the fact that Phoebe would have had extreme difficulty entering the chute, the hatch on her own, which I'm not going to walk us through again because I've literally done it 15 times already. So we're going to move on to the fourth set of evidence, which is the security system in the building. Though the security system that was in place in the building at the time was that the residents had to scan their key cards to enter, and they had to buzz in any non-residents that they had invited into the building. Because of this, there was that fire drill that day, right? Well, when there's a fire drill, all of these systems get shut down.
Oh, shit.
So for 17 whole minutes, the front doors were blocked open so people could go in and out. Mm-hmm. And there were numerous people walking in and out, some that might not have been residents, others that were. None of which who were to swipe their key cards, none of which who were recorded, AKA we have no idea who was in this building.
Holy fuck.
In addition to this, if an individual was able to catch the front door, okay, like the lifts, the garage door, etc., behind a resident who did swipe their key cards, they would be allowed into the building. And again, there's no records because there's no video cameras. So we don't know how to identify these people who was in the building that day. The key card log for December 2nd, 2010 indicated that between noon and 7:15 p.m. that day, 12 trips were made on the elevator to the 12th floor by 12th floor resident key cards. However, the swipe log does not indicate if these individuals were going up or down in the lift, and they do not know if for sure that someone who was buzzed up using like, so if I buzz you up to the 12th floor, it says like, oh, you're coming up to the 12th floor. They don't know if that's recorded on the elevator. Like they like when they ask the building manager, no, like the swipe card, because if you're like delivering food and you're getting buzzed up, it buzzes you into the elevator as well. So, and that's not recorded when you're buzzed in.
Yeah.
So they have no record of who the fuck is in their building and when they are in the fucking building. So in addition to this, there are no CCTV cameras on the 12th floor, and a person could have easily walked up the fire escape stairwell and entered the 12th floor fire door that was not latched as it had been propped open. And though opening that fire escape stairwell door on the ground level would trigger the fire alarm, because it had gone off on 2 different occasions that day, it was open and like not latched back and secured during those times. So people could have gone in and out.
Without any alarm.
And the only way to go unrecorded in this building is if you use a master key card. So these key cards worked on all doors, all lifts, all entry, exit points, and like the garages and everything in this building. And they were stored in the manager's office that was left open and unlocked that entire day specifically, and most days. Also, they do not keep a log of who has been given these spared keys in the days and weeks leading up to Phoebe's death. So like if someone lost their key, they would give them the fucking master key and be like, just go get in your apartment, we'll order you a new one. And like they wouldn't log it out.
The fuck?
This is like a big fucking...
I know this place got on lockdown.
Oh, you know they got their shit sued. This leads me to the 5th presentation of evidence, which was the absence of blood or fingerprints on the chute's entry latch, which, again, we've already discussed. It wasn't there. It looks like someone wiped it off. Police are like, well, we can't. That steel is like the hardest thing to get fingerprints off of. Like I'm like, let me go touch my refrigerator real fast. Gets fingerprints like I've never seen before. Like, I'm just, whatever. They're like, it's not that, you can't pull it off. Okay, well, then scan it.
Yeah.
Like,
try.
Literally, just try something. Nope, they didn't care to try. The reason I want to skip over this really fast is because evidence number 6 is extremely jarring. According to Dr. Brown, the forensic biologist, she discovered a mixture of DNA from at least 2 individuals in the blood stains left from Phoebe on the inside door of the trash room.
Whoa.
She explained that the majority of the DNA belonged to Phoebe that was found in that room. However, they were not able to determine the age or source of the other individual's DNA, saying that it could have been from someone's like hair, sweat, or blood that was left behind at any point in time. Okay. I'm just...
But it was mixed with her blood?
It was literally mixed with her blood. But they're like, you know, if someone was walking in there and cut their hand and it fell on the floor the day before. But still, like, I would like to know who they were.
Right.
Like, we still want to know.
Let me see their cut.
Right. So, next on to number 7. And this is that Anthony could not remember if the door was locked or unlocked when he arrived home, and he was never questioned on this fact when police originally spoke with him in the apartment on December 2nd. Shoddy police work. And number 8 is questioning if the trash compactor machine was set on automatic or manual rotation. Now, this is significant. So basically what it looks like is if I drew a flower and the like inside of the flower was like a machine that turned, and the petals on the flower, 6 huge trash bins. And the chute entry would be like at one of these trash bins at one of the petals.
And then it would rotate.
And there was like a machine on the inside that would like chop stuff when it would go through to like separate it. And then once that one was full, it would have like it has a weighted system, and it would move that one over, dump it, keep going. That's pretty important. Do you like my flower?
I love that
analogy. That was cute, wasn't it? That was really like,
it was good,
innovative of me. Okay, so this is significant because Mr. Neil Bone, who is the managing director of Waste Tech, the manufacturer of this garbage compactor, testified that, quote, if the machine would have been set to auto, Phoebe's injuries would have been much more extensive. So it looks like to the fucking manufacturer that it was on manual, meaning that someone had to go in there and press the button to get it to chop.
Holy shit.
But no one fucking checked if it was on auto or manual. And the building manager, the concierge, they're like, we don't know. What do you mean
no
you
one
don't
knows
know?
anything
Like, no one
case.
fucking knows anything. So, number 9. The identity of the man that the resident had seen and police identified, yet the woman was not able to positively say that this was the man that she saw. We already went over that. So let's go to the 10th and the final presentation of evidence. Anthony Hampel.
Oh, shit.
Now, I have given you a little bit of an overview about Anthony and his relationship with Phoebe, but let's go into detail, shall we? And yes, in this section, I will finally address the 4 breakups, the trips that Phoebe had planned to take, and like I said, Anthony was 17 years older than Phoebe. He came from a powerful family. He held himself to a certain level because of who he was working with as a promoter, and their relationship was rocky. He even said it himself. But what he left out is just how controlling he was. How controlling he was over Phoebe and everyone in his life. In fact, you know the job that Phoebe was working at the time that they had met, the salon receptionist?
Yeah.
She loved that job because it was literally her best friend's salon. And Anthony made her quit it because, quote, being a receptionist was beneath me, end quote.
Ew.
Phoebe, in the months prior to her death, confided in many people, friends, family members, doctors, and her psychologist, that Anthony made it clear to her that she was beneath him, and they were not equal partners. Because of this, she was anxious when going to any events or dinners with him, causing her to drink way more to loosen up. But on many occasions that were testified on, Anthony would overhear what Phoebe was talking about after she had like a glass of wine and was talking with like someone's wife. He would become enraged and force her to leave. He would literally put her in the car, drive her home, drop her off, and go back himself, saying that she was an embarrassment to him and he couldn't take her anywhere. Phoebe told multiple individuals that she longed for a partner in a stable relationship. She was unhappy and she just wanted to leave, saying that she didn't want to go on these trips with him, that these awesome trips like to Bali and to Paris that were 5-week trips that were like people would beg to go on. She didn't want to go on them because the more she was with him and it was just them two, he'd become more and more defensive and aggressive during these long periods of seeing each other. Because of this, in the 6 to 8 weeks prior to her death, they separated on 4 different occasions. And I'm going to walk us through each of these separations along with the odd happenings that surround them tomorrow. Because holy shit, I did not expect this to be a 3-parter, but literally I've been speaking for an hour and 30. And I read literally the entire book, Into the Darkness. I read 155 pages of both of these documents.
And you're fried.
And I'm fried. And I'm full of information. I literally could talk about this for 15 years. So Patreons, you may or may not be getting this bonus part 3 early, as in the evening tonight, depending on how and Morgan and I figure out what the fuck we're about to do. Because, baby, we got literally 2 weeks to get this shit done. But if not, either way, everybody gets a surprise bonus episode tomorrow from me. So, happy Friday. Okay, also, let me say this before we go on. It might be Saturday if something goes insanely wrong. So, Mercury is in retrograde. So, I just want to let you guys know. Like, that's the only thing that would happen.
Oh, God. I feel like I have so much information just thrown at me that, like, I need to, like, soak it in.
You're going to have to, because really the things that I've been laying out the case for you guys for so long, but I've not given you like any personal intimate detail into a lot of these relationships, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on in part 3. And we're also going to be going into suspects and the current happenings with this case.
Wow.
Okay, Morgan, what do you have for us today?
Okay, I feel crazy going second.
I know.
So I'm going to be talking a lot about exorcisms today, as well as the Vatican and the Catholic Church. So if this is something that you want to skip or not listen to, then see you next week. Let's see you for the bonus episode.
Yeah, see you later.
But I'm just going to jump right into it on this one, and you had your warning. Father Gabriel Amorth was born as Gabriel Amorth on May 1st, 1925 in the town of Modena in northern Italy. Gabriel was raised in a household that was pretty heavily involved in both religion and politics. His father was an early supporter of the People's Party, which was a faction that was inspired by Catholic ideals and beliefs, becoming the precursor to the eventual Christian Democrat Party. Once 18 years old in 1943, Gabriel was drafted into the fascist army during World War II, but went AWOL and joined the Italian resistance that was headed by Catholic activists. For the next 2 years, he fought against fascist loyalists in German forces, becoming a battalion commander by 20 years old.
Wow.
During the war, Gabriel said he was arrested and sentenced to death more than once, but always managed to escape. After World War II, he was awarded the War Cross for military valor, and he then moved to Rome to study law, becoming very active in politics following his father, and joining the newly formed Christian Democrats as vice secretary of the party's youth organization. But Gabriel knew that politics wasn't his end goal. Since before the war, he wanted to join the church. So after earning his degree in law, he enrolled in seminary and then got a second degree in theology in 1954 and was ordained as a Catholic priest. In 1986, he was assigned by the Vicar of Rome to assist Father Candido Amontani, the chief exorcist in Rome.
Oh, shit.
When Father Amontani died, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It's a very Italian name.
No.
Amontani.
Oh, is it T? Amontini?
I think it's probably Amontini. So when Father Amontini died in 1992, Father Amorth was named his successor. Since 1992, Father Gabriel Amorth has been known as the Vatican exorcist, Rome's chief exorcist, and the dean of exorcists. Father Gabriel has traveled around the world, training more than 300 Catholic exorcists and performing more than 50,000 exorcisms by the year 2000.
Oh my God.
By March 2010, that number, according to Father Gabriel, increased to 70,000. And by May 2013, Father Gabriel had performed over 160,000 exorcisms.
Oh my God.
Holy moly, right?
Literally.
But what happened in between those 30 years, making Father Gabriel the successor of the other exorcists? So he's actually Father Amorth, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I know I'm pronouncing Gabriel right. So he's Father Gabriel today.
Yeah, that's who he is.
So during this time, Father Gabriel dedicated all of his time to studying the most miraculous, supernatural, and even controversial aspects of the Catholic faith. The Medjugorje miracles, which is a common, almost monthly sighting of the Virgin Mary reappearing in what is now modern-day Bosnia.
Whoa.
He was obsessed with this and wholeheartedly believed that the Virgin Mother of God was in fact returning, or at least her apparition was, causing blessings and grace on anyone who pilgrimed to the area seeking her. This was a huge controversy throughout the Vatican, as the Medjugorje miracles were not endorsed by the Catholic Church and thought it all to be a scam.
Whoa.
The Vatican was not about these miracles.
Right. Well, why wouldn't they be? I mean,
It takes away from them.
yeah, but like, wouldn't you want to believe that one of your saints comes back and like serves?
Anyway, even though the Catholic Church thought it all to be a scam, he continued his study by visiting another famous site for miracles by the Mother of Jesus in Fatima in Portugal. He organized this pilgrimage all by himself and arranged a statue of the Virgin to be carried from Portugal to all of Italy's main cities. Like, he created this tour. He was assisted in the pilgrimage by his old friend Andreotti, who was then the Minister of Defense at the time, by gaining access to military transport helicopters for his travels.
Wow.
This pilgrimage was huge. And during this travel, the statue was taken to the convent of Padre Pio, who then became a saint and known as Father Pius. So a little bit about Padre Pio. Growing up, Padre Pio was constantly experiencing these like heavenly visions. This started his leap towards priesthood and wanted to enter the Capuchin order, but it was really prestigious. This is like a school, I think. So his father moved to the United States and searched to make more money to pay for a private tutor back home for his son so that he could get into this very prestigious school.
Right.
After a 7-year study for priesthood and taking the vows of poverty and chastity and obedience, Padre Pio fell ill at the young age of 17. He had no appetite. He couldn't sleep. He had insomnia. He was exhausted. He had migraines, constantly fainting, vomiting often, and he could only tolerate milk and cheese. His health continued to worsen, even with the constant prayers uplifting around him. But Padre Pio was still working, and his superiors could not get him to take some time off. So they sent him to this mountain convent in hopes that the change of scenery and a change of fresh air would improve his health. By 1910, Pio was finally ordained a priest by Archbishop Palio Scinosi at the Cathedral of Benevento. He was said to have this gift of reading souls, being able to communicate with angels and give healings to others. And this word was spreading, and people were coming all around to see Father Pio. His health was still declining, all of which people now believe were just events leading to his spiritual phenomena. In 1911, 1 year after becoming an ordained priest, Father Pio wrote a letter to his spiritual advisor describing something that had apparently been happening to him for the last year that he has kept a secret. It says, quote, "Last night something happened which I can neither explain nor understand. In the middle of my palms of my hands, a red mark appeared, about the size of a penny, accompanied by acute pain in the middle of the red marks. The pain was more pronounced in the middle of the left hand, so much so that I can still feel it. Also under my feet, I can feel some pain. Father Padre Pio was bearing the stigmata of Christ."
Okay.
Right?
It seems kind of offensive. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is anybody else seen this?
Eventually.
Okay. So
he hid this for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
For a year.
I thought that he was just like,
he was very, very sick. And then he was like, you know, had all these gifts of like, I can read your soul, I can talk to these angels. And he was showing these gifts to these people, and the word
draining
of the
himself.
gifts were spreading.
Right.
But what was happening to him every single night, like there was this whole long like script that he had written out, like in his journal or something, where he was like pleading to like God to like take this away from him. He was in so much pain.
Damn.
So yes, he was bearing the stigmata of Christ. Once made public, the Vatican hired a number of physicians to run independent investigations, all with the attempt of trying to shield and hide him from the public. But Father Pio was beset with the stigmata, like becoming known for his unexplained bleeding marks that appeared on his ribs, his wrist, his hands, and feet, matching the wounds that Jesus Christ received on the cross.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was one of like the most popular figures of the stigmata.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
He's like, yeah, that's insane.
Crazy.
That is insane. He's just draining himself by giving his gifts away.
Yeah.
And it's killing him.
So when Father Gabriel delivered the statue of the Virgin to Father Pio, he was introduced to the mysteries of the devil and its presence among humans. Father Pio admitted that often, because of his gifts, the Prince of Darkness tormented him, disguised as a huge black, like growling dog, forcing him into these like night-long fights. Like,
oh my God.
Constant, like all throughout his sleep, and even like what he thought was real life. Like he was constantly fighting
these
devil.
hellhounds. Yeah.
These hellhounds, exactly. Yeah. And this is what kickstarted Father Gabriel Amorth into the world of exorcisms. At the age of 61, on June 6, 1986, Father Gabriel was summoned for a meeting with Cardinal Poletti, the highest-ranking clergyman in Rome besides the Pope. During this very seemingly casual conversation, the cardinal asked if Gabriel knew Father Amontini, a.k.a. the then exorcist for the Pope. Gabriel answered yes and watched as the cardinal scribbled on some paper and then handed him a note. And on this note, he was officially appointing him as assistant to Father Amontini. And just like that, Father Gabriel Amorth had become the assistant to the regional, this is from The Office, it's a joke, the assistant to the regional exorcist of the Vatican. So he was the assistant exorcist. Over the next 6 years, Father Gabriel watched as Amontini's health decreased, learning as much as he could, all the tips and tricks to cast away demons. When Father Amontini died in 1992, Father Gabriel stepped into his shoes. But before we dive into what his life was like as the Pope's exorcist, we need to understand what possession is to the Catholic faith.
Okay.
According to biographics.org and to the official Catholic Catechism, demonic possession is the act by which the devil, a demon, or a spirit takes over a victim's physical activity, as well as their mental and spiritual energies. By exerting physical violence upon the host, which manifests for the victim as illness or pain, the demons can coerce humans into committing unholy sins. Father Amontini and Gabriel were usually involved in what's defined as peripheral pathogenic possession, rather than what they called a central possession. But what's the difference? During central possessions, a member of the religious elite becomes possessed by spirits during an official ceremony in which he or she fulfills a political, religious, or moral function. So those are like big dogs that are getting possessed. And those are called central possessions. And they didn't deal with those much. They're very rare.
Okay. Yeah. Thank God.
Thank God.
Literally.
That we think. During peripheral possession, this indicated an invasion of evil spirits, those unwanted, immoral, and dangerous. Peripheral possessions are then subclassed into executive and pathogenic. Executive peripheral possessions involve the complete replacement or transformation of the host personality with that of the invading entity. So like you can no longer tell apart the demon that's possessing that human being and the human being, the victim itself.
Okay. So like where they're so merged.
Right.
Right.
Peripheral pathogenic possessions involve a spirit of demon to cause abnormal or deviant behavior, illness, pain, or misfortune to the victims, while the victim's identity is largely intact. So that's when you see that split, like...
I'm sorry. I'm just cackling. We sound like teachers today.
I know, we do. I'm really teaching. We didn't even plan this.
No, I was literally going through terminology, and now you're going through terminology, and I'm acting like I fucking know anything about a coroner.
And I'm acting like I know everything about the Catholic Church and demonic
and I'm going through like cough medicine names.
Right.
And now you're taking me through all these history. And I mean, I'm a science teacher today and you're a history teacher. Thank God.
Also an ordained priest.
Minister. You're a seminary teacher.
Yeah. In Catholicism, the Catechism identifies possessing entities as either the devil himself or much more commonly his demons. Demons are fallen angels, meaning their strength, intellect, and knowledge are superior to humans. But they are still God's creatures and ultimately will subject to God's will. And this is why an ordained member of the church can perform exorcisms to cast out demons, because they are God's fallen angels.
Right.
I never realized that.
I guess I didn't, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Exorcisms are simply acts or rites by which the priests use their authority to demand that a person or even an object is rid of the influence of evil. Over the course of his 160,000 exorcisms and a constant war waged between Father Gabriel and the devil, he always admitted that this number was a little extremely high and the actual cases of demonic possession were much lower. He also admitted that in most cases the exorcisms didn't work and patients were referred back to psychiatric care and eventually cured by other means. So Father Gabriel, at the end of the day, I'm not done, obviously, but at the end of the day, like he was very, very open with the media in a way that like most... They're not supposed to be.
They're not supposed to be at all.
And he was trying to be very transparent to kind of like show the world of like what is out there.
Right.
And because of this, he received a lot of like backlash.
Right.
But also because of this, like his numbers, like he's like, yes, I did 160,000 exorcisms, but probably only, 40,000 of those were actually real demonic possessions.
Entities, right.
Yeah. The rest were just like
they need like serious medical attention.
Right. In these actual cases of possession, the smaller number, Father Gabriel said that roughly 90% of them were due to the patient's exposure, this is interesting, to a spell, a curse, or a satanic ritual.
Oh.
He says that the most self-described witches, clairvoyants, or Satanist priests are harmless occult enthusiasts at best, or scammers at worst. But he truly believes that there is a small minority of people that have actual dark powers, and these people are what cause possessions in other people.
Whoa, that is a good point.
That's scary.
Yeah, that is really scary. I mean, that does make sense. Like, how many voodoo priests do you know? I literally didn't even know if I was allowed to say their name in that one episode of the Katrina people. And remember, I had to call Susan, and Susan like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
For in-person exorcisms, Father Gabriel was usually assisted by 4 laymen who could escort patients to his room of it was a room just like this. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm explaining it to Taylor. It's like a 9 by 15 foot room, which I don't even think that's actually bigger than this.
Yeah, that's bigger than this. We measured
it. That's right.
Yeah.
It's bigger than this. And this was situated away from the Roman street so that, quote, no one could hear the screams.
Oh my God.
He used an armchair for the, quote, less agitated patients and a bed in a box with, quote, tape and belts used to tie the more robust patients. A photo of St. John Paul II adorned the walls since, quote, demons become very irritable before him. And Father Gabriel always carried 2 wooden crucifixes as aspergillum for sprinkling water, holy water, and a vial of consecrated oil. The most terrifying exorcism Father Gabriel Amorth ever did was in Rome, and this is when he came face to face with the devil himself.
Oh, shit.
According to the New York Post, in 1997, a young, very, very thin, poor man was escorted into the room where Father Gabriel was stationed to conduct his exorcisms in Rome. He was immediately confronted by evil. When he asked for the help of Jesus, the man began to curse and spit, swearing in English instead of his native Italian.
Oh.
So this man didn't even speak English. He spoke full Italian. So I'm assuming, okay, hear me out.
What accent was that?
I think English curse words are like...
They're like serious.
Like, yeah, like fuck.
Like fuck.
You fucking pig. Like stuff like that. But also any like exorcism video that we see, they start speaking in Italian or in a different language. So is it just to throw off or to make known like I am not who you think I am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Wouldn't you? But I always thought it was Latin or like Hebrew or something.
I thought so too. I thought it was like speaking in like...
They wouldn't speak Hebrew.
No, not Hebrew.
Hebrew's
like
a holy language. Latin,
yeah.
right? Because it's the dead language, right? And it's like a big deal when they do that shit.
Yeah.
So you think we would? We literally
anytime. Yeah, I know.
Do this every fucking day.
So anytime he was swearing or cursing, his threats were aimed solely at Father Gabriel, and then began to attempt to attack the father physically.
Oh God!
Being held back by the 4 rather large, strong men, he was screaming and howling like a literal wolf. When his face immediately changed. He calmed down, he looked at Father Gabriel straight in the eyes, and he was drooling at the mouth, and his face was no longer his face. Father Gabriel claimed to repeat prayer after prayer and other ritual recitations, demanding the demon to reveal its name. When the man looked at him, smiled, and laughed, and then snarled, "I am Lucifer." Father Gabriel said that he immediately felt weakened, like not expecting such a horrific response. Like he usually will get like crazy names, but never. He has never, it was his first time ever getting the actual
Lucifer
devil himself. So he wasn't expecting this, and he knew that he had to keep going at this point. Like this gentleman's in front of him, and if he left, like he needed to keep his strength. He needed to show the devil that he can cast him out.
Right.
Like, they are stronger.
You can't back down now.
Yeah. So the demon continued to shriek, making the victim like turn his head back, roll his eyes into the back of his head. He then remained like this. So with his head back and his eyes in the back of his head, his back was then arched. He remained like this for 25 minutes.
No.
During all of this, Father Gabriel said the room became extremely cold and ice crystals were forming on the windows and the walls.
Hell froze over. Bitch, what?
Yeah. Father Gabriel continued to command him to leave the house, and when the boy's body stiffened up, became hard, and then levitated 3 feet into the air for several minutes.
Oh my gosh.
He then dropped into the chair, and the man seemed to return to like normal, well, as normal as you could get.
I mean, after
just
been
levitating and your head being thrown backwards, your eyes
being
rolling.
possessed by Satan himself. Don't mind me. I'm just lighting sage because I wasn't expecting a fucking satanic one today.
I'm sorry.
God.
Over the next few days, Father Gabriel visited him regularly, continually praying over him until he sensed that this man was now at peace. And when he asked the man how the devil left his body, he said, quote, "I began to howl like I never had before.
Oh my God.
Then I felt new and I felt light."
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
So it was just like a rebirth.
I guess.
I mean,
I would love to know what you saw.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what you see when.
No, I don't want to know.
I don't want to know, but I wonder what it is that you see.
Mm-hmm. So Father Gabriel says that possession spittings, like how he was saying, like they always spit.
Yeah.
The spittings are the most common thing, and that demons actually will try to time it to just the right, perfect time to spit into the exorcist's mouth.
Wait, why? Because it's like venom?
So this is what he said happened to him one time. So he's always prepared after one time. So he's always carrying like a napkin, or like he'll cover his mouth. Like he can see them like preparing for it. But one time he was spat at, got into his mouth, and 3 nails materialized into his mouth. He says he still has those nails like today. From
like
the person.
fingernails.
No, like nails, like that you would nail
like
on
in a wall nails in his mouth.
3 of them like materialized from the spit.
And they're in his mouth still?
No. He said he has the nails. Like he took them out.
Oh, he took them out.
Like he could feel them like
in his mouth.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Isn't that fucking crazy?
No, that's insane.
So like I was saying though, because of Father Gabriel's open honesty to the public and media about what he has experienced, exorcisms are actually on the rise worldwide, and that's including in the United States. Catholic leaders say that there are now more exorcists in the United States now than in any time in recent memory. And Father Gabriel places most of the possession blame on pop culture, which is influencing people to go towards occult practices. Yet his favorite film was The Exorcist. He thought it to be substantially, he tells everybody this in any interview, in any video.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting
he says that it is substantially accurate and based on true events. Even though like the special effects, yes, they were exaggerated. But in an interview with the London Sunday Telegraph, he said it was his favorite film because, quote, people need to know what we do.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Like, people need to know that, like, Satan is real. And that is, like, a true thing that you should fear. Is like, you should want to cleanse your space and you should want to protect yourself in the means that you want to do to practice that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Evil is real. It doesn't have to be in the form of Satan is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Father Gabriel had his controversies, absolutely. During a film festival in 2011, the preview for the movie The Rite, which was like kind of coming off The Exorcist, he was quoted saying that, this is why he's a little controversial, quoted saying that yoga is satanic.
Okay, now we're done.
And now we're done with
now
Father
we're
Gabriel,
leaving.
because it quotes, this is his words, leads to practice Hinduism, and all Eastern religions are based on a false belief in reincarnation, and practicing yoga is satanic. It leads to evil, just like reading Harry Potter. Which is, no, this is actually so crazy to me. And this is why it's crazy to me. Not so much yoga, but the whole Harry Potter argument.
Okay.
My family
yeah,
is extremely religious. And I know family members who were not allowed to watch Harry Potter growing up. And I wonder if it's because of like this hysteria of Harry Potter because of this.
It's because it's witchcraft.
Father, though. Yeah. Father Gabriel.
I wonder if it did stem from him, but I do know like
Harry Potter was very like you.
Oh, people went. I mean, Wizards of Waverly Place. My friends weren't allowed to watch that.
It's insane to me.
Yeah. And there was the Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Mm-hmm. Some people weren't allowed to watch that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer had like
I had family that wasn't even allowed to like go trick-or-treating.
Oh, well, I never had that because like that shit's fun. But like
they weren't allowed to dress up Halloween. They weren't allowed to go trick-or-treating.
I do have friends that did do that I met in college. But that is crazy.
So while I also
I'm sorry, it's not crazy. If that is your religion, it's not crazy. I'm just saying like for me and my personal experience, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So while I do disagree with like the yoga being satanic,
the yoga and the Hinduism
being satanic because of reincarnation, like I beg to differ, and like that to me is just like one religion trying to top another, like saying that their beliefs are wrong. And I think in any religion you should not be able to say that about the other. Right.
I don't think that you should be able to say like just like how people are like people that are Baptist or like Southern Baptist specifically. I can only speak for my like don't you dare be around those Catholics. Mm-hmm. I'm like. What are they gonna do?
Yeah. No, really though.
Really.
And Catholics are like one of the only ones that believe in exorcisms.
Right. And they do believe in a lot of like spiritual gifts and practices and stuff like that. Now, granted, there are a lot more like strict ass rules and things like that, but the spiritualism is closer to these other religions that they are literally like being like, don't you dare fucking do yoga.
Yeah.
Isn't that a spiritual practice? Like moving your body? Like, yeah, it's spiritual.
Yeah. Yoga is spiritual.
Yeah, it is very spiritual. That's why I so enjoyed it during my healing journey. Sorry.
I love that. It was so like peaceful.
Yeah.
So while I obviously disagree with yoga being fucking satanic, he also made headlines when he came forward as a whistleblower about Vatican police and foreign diplomats. And this is interesting because it just brings out a little bit of a conspiracy theorist in me. He claimed that Emanuele Orlandi, who was an Italian schoolgirl who went missing in Rome in 1983, was actually kidnapped for a sex party by a gang involving Vatican police and foreign diplomats.
What?
He said that she was later murdered and her body disposed of, and Father Gabriel claimed that girls were recruited at the Vatican for parties, adding that her death, quote, was a crime with sexual motive.
Fine, I'll look into it.
So yeah, that's something for you to look into.
Yeah.
In 2016.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, we didn't get too torn up about that. Like we need to.
No, that's fucked up.
No, that's so fucked up. But I'm just gonna have to do. I want us to get fired up about it.
I don't know why the Vatican reminds me so much of the Volturi in Twilight. Why did they do it like that?
For a purpose. for a whole ass purpose. So when I was in Italy, I stayed in Vatican City, and I literally, where I stayed was a half a block up from the gates that you go into, where it's like the Basilica, St. Peter's Basilica, and on the other side is where the Sistine Chapel and all that shit is. And we went in there. And it was like a rainy day that day, so it was just kind of eerie already. And we went over, we like went in, we went to the Basilica. As we're standing in there, we start hearing like, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm not Catholic. I literally went to one Catholic funeral, did squats the entire time, was like done, never coming back. And I didn't even get to like mourn because I was too busy doing squats. So anyways, I turn around. They're like spreading us out, okay? These people walk in these like white cloaks, and they're holding like these gold like things and like these flags almost, and they're walking in the middle, and they get in the middle and they start singing this like go, like it didn't even make sense. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And one of the girls I was with, she's Catholic, so she was like explaining the process to me, and I was like, I just feel so eerie. Like I feel like it's like I was telling her, I was like, look at all these doors behind us. I was like, someone could easily just walk in here and grab one of us. Like, not in the way that I felt like my soul was going to be attacked. I actually felt like very peace. I felt like it was like a very like neutral area to be in.
Yeah.
It was just like the eeriness of they're like crowding us around, and they're backing us up to these like doors, like these walls, and they're obviously doors in them. And I was literally looking around, and I told my friend I was with, I was like, dude, I just feel like someone's gonna come out of one of these doors
and snatch me.
Yeah, because there's so many. I wish I could like give you a better description of this. It was just so weird. It was like, you know, those bookshelf like fake doors. That's what they looked like. They all looked like that, and there were people coming in and out of them like workers.
That is terrifying.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies about the Pope and
oh my God, they're not
Vatican
even
City,
conspiracies.
and
They're straight up confirmed crimes. A fucking priest, a Catholic priest scandal of them being sexual predators across the entire U.S. Literally,
that is true.
Yes.
Holy shit. And I'm wrapping up here. In 2016, Father Gabriel was admitted to the hospital where he was diagnosed with a pulmonary condition and pneumonia. Died on Friday, September 16th, 2016 at 7:37 p.m. Prior to his death, he said, "When I get to the good place, I will continue to fight the devil even harder." So he has came forward and like publicized a lot of his exorcisms, and I believe his last exorcism was actually documented.
Oh.
And there's a film coming out in 2023.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah.
I'm like nervous about watching. You know, I don't even like watching The Conjurings. You know what happened last time. Everybody knows what happened last time.
Like this guy to me is like, besides the whole yoga thing and like I mean that's pretty fucked up. But like for him to turn on Vatican officials and foreign diplomats, like that is huge for someone who was so high up in.
That's what's really odd. That's what makes him like an outlier. But then also on the flip side of what we're thinking, like in the version of a conspiracy, let's truly back up and be like, okay, well, what if it's not that he wanted to get away, like because they were doing so much dirty? What if he like found so much power in the, I don't want to say the worship that he was getting, but the praise that he was getting for his abilities, that he was like almost like how Satan fell. Like, you just are so entitled.
Yeah.
You know, because isn't that the story of Satan, that he was like, he thought he knew better than God, and and he was a fallen angel. But you see that happen a lot in religious systems, whether it's a church, whether it's, you know, people are like my way or no way, and they end up getting kicked out.
Yeah.
Like those mega church pastors. By the way, someone sent us today on Instagram that Silent Twins has a movie coming out.
Oh.
Or it already came out. One of the two. I don't remember. And it's like an entire series or movie into their lives. I need to watch. I was like, oh my God, me and Morgan have to go watch that.
I need to watch tonight.
Yeah. I don't think it's out yet. I think they said that it was coming in 2023.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Anyways.
It's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, it is one of mine too, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, it was right after. I think it was our first big one that we did. Like,
I think so too.
Our largest audience for that point in time.
Yeah.
It was like it's still one of our highest listened, and Tupac's following right behind, but
it is.
Yeah. Wow,
Damn.
that's so crazy.
Damn.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna let you go, and we love you very, very much.
We love you.
And we'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.